Hey guys, Dr. Childs here. Today we're going to be talking about 7 thyroid therapies that you can do at home. The reason we're talking about this and the reason it's so important is because, number one, your doctor probably doesn't even know that there are other therapies aside from Synthroid and levothyroxine. And number two, these therapies can actually help you in addition to whatever you're currently doing to help you feel better. I would say another big reason is that a lot of patients are struggling. They want to do something. They might feel helpless because they're sort of at the beck and call of their doctor. They got to do whatever their doctor is prescribed, or they got to take whatever their doctor is prescribing. They sort of have to listen to whatever their doctor is doing. So I think it's important for you to understand as a thyroid patient that there are things you can do, and there are things that you should be doing. And so I want to talk about those things now because it puts a little bit of the power back on your court, right? So you have things that you can do to improve your health. So let's talk about these. I have 7 here. Let's jump right in. So number 1 is the food that you put into your mouth. So this would be diet, all right? And I'm not talking about diet in the sense that you're reducing your calories to try and lose weight, even though many thyroid patients do struggle with weight. That's really not what we're focusing on here. What I'm talking about would just be things that are healthy, the foods that you consume, which provide your body with nutrients, but perhaps more important than that would be information. So the food that you put in your body is information to your body. And what I like to say here is that food can either cause or decrease inflammation. And in the case of thyroid, anyone who has thyroid conditions, this is really, really important. Inflammation of any type reduces how well your thyroid is functioning, and that could impact how well you feel, obviously, if you're either causing or reducing inflammation. In addition, the food that you eat also impacts your gut health. And so your gut health is responsible for about 20% or so of what we call T4 to T3 conversion. And what that means is your body activates your thyroid, which is T4, and turns it into T3 in the gut. So if there's any inflammatory processes occurring in the gut, if there's anything like inflammation from irritable bowel syndrome or acid reflux or changes in gut bacteria, all of these things impact how well your thyroid is going to be able to activate itself, right? And so the food that you eat impacts directly your gut health, it impacts directly the inflammatory levels in your body, and it provides your body with information. So I don't want you to neglect how important the food that you eat and the diet that you consume is for your overall health. But really what I care about here is your thyroid. So, and what a lot of people do is they kind of understand vaguely that the food that they eat will help. They don't quite understand why they're doing it. And what I would also say to these people is that even if you change your diet, and you're eating healthy foods, and there's plenty of healthy diets out there. I've talked about the ketogenic diet, I talked about Whole30, any sort of natural food diets, a paleo diet. There's tons and tons of healthy diets out there. So I'm not talking about a specific diet you need to be following, but you should be following one of those and match it to your health problems. I'll have a different video on how to do that exactly. But the point that I'm trying to make here is whatever you do, you need to do it and you need to be consistent with it. And even if you don't notice an immediate improvement in your health just by doing that, doesn't mean that it isn't working. All right, it could just be that this is setting your body up, or it's taking a little bit of time, or it's still improving other processes in your body. So it still is important, even if you don't notice an improvement. So I'll have people that will eat healthy, and then they'll say, throw their hands up and say, well, it didn't work, so I'm going to go back to eating healthy. No. You need to continue to eat healthy, even if you're not noticing a huge improvement right away. Because even if you just eat healthy by itself, that is good, but these other things that we're talking about can be stacked on top of the healthy eating to improve it even more. So that's number 1, the food that you consume. Remember it's information, and remember it can either cause or reduce inflammation, and it improves your gut health, which is how it impacts your thyroid. Number 2, some medications. Yes, some medications can be acquired, we'll say, by third parties that you can take. And so I have to be very careful because I don't want to condone the use of prescription medications that you can get that you're using without a doctor, because it can be dangerous. However, you should know a couple things, and that is number 1, medications are about 3 times more expensive in the United States than they are in other countries. And number 2, some countries you can just walk right into the pharmacy and get your medications over the counter. You don't need a prescription or anything like that. So what I would just put out there is that some of these things are available if you go looking for them. Now, again, this is only sort of a last resort type of thing. I wouldn't recommend that all of you do this. It would be far better for you to find a doctor that's local to you to get some help. But I want you to be aware that some of these options do exist. I have patients who email me all the time about this stuff, and they'll tell me where they've gotten it. But again, I'm not going to include that information now. I just want you to be aware that it occurs. So that's number 2. Number 3 is supplement protocols. Okay, so obviously you know about supplements, and you know about vitamins, and you know about nutrients. But what you may not realize is that these things are very, very powerful, or they can be, depending on how you use them. So it's sort of like prescription medications in a way, right? So prescription medications, I think everyone knows they can be effective. Now, some are bad and some are good. Of course, we know that. And some of them, they need to be tweaked just right in order for them to be effective. This same concept applies to supplements, over-the-counter nutrients, and herbs and botanical nutrients as well. So the key here is that you have to be using them correctly, and you have to be using them, you have to be targeting them to your body, and they have to be addressing the right things. Now, I'm going to simplify this for thyroid patients because that's who we're talking to right now. So the two things that you probably want to focus on, or actually let's call it three things, would be gut health, adrenal health, and detoxification. And what you can do is you can focus your supplements on these three areas. Now, what I see a lot of people do is they'll come to me and they'll say, hey, I want to get a second opinion. I want you to look at my labs, and I want you to look at all the things that I'm doing and get some direction on that. And so I've done this many times. And when I do, typically somebody comes to me and they're taking something like 20 supplements all at once. And that's a good idea. Like in theory, it's good to be able to take all those things. And individually, if you break it down, you're like, oh, well, yeah, curcumin is great. Fish oil is great. Zinc is great. Selenium is great. Iodine is great. All these things are good. But if you're using them all at once and you don't have any plan and you don't have any strategy in how you're using them, you're not going to get the results that you want. And so as an example, I've included a couple things here that I'm just going to talk about, and this is just a sample. You don't have to follow this exactly, but I want to show you sort of how I think about using supplements and supplement protocols to help people with thyroid conditions. So for instance, what I would do sometimes is, this isn't something that everyone could do, but this is sort of a way to generally think about it. So I have the 6-month program or 6-month idea that you could kind of follow, and it would be thyroid supplements that you focus on. So for the first 1 to 2 months that you're doing your supplement protocols, you're focusing mostly on your thyroid. Okay, so the goal here is to reduce any inflammation in the gland, provide your body with the nutrients your thyroid needs so that it can function appropriately, and you do that for 1 to 2 months. You don't need to be on zinc and selenium in high doses for 6 to 12 months. That's really not going to be super helpful. Selenium in higher doses potentially can be helpful for some people, but I see a lot of people have been taking these things forever and they're not really getting anywhere. So think about it this way: you need to take thyroid supplements. You don't have to take them necessarily forever. Some you might, but most you do not. But you want to replete the levels that you're low in, and you can take those for about 1 to 2 months. After you've repleted the nutrients that your thyroid needs, so the specific nutrients that it needs to function, you can move on to your gut health. So for months 3 to 4, you would be focusing on supplements which help restore healthy, which restore your microbiome, things like prebiotics, which can provide the bacteria in your gut with nutrients so that they can grow. So for months 3 to 4, you'd be focusing on your gut health. And then months 5 and 6, and maybe potentially onward, you'd be focusing on things which help your body detoxify. So to eliminate those things which are impairing your body's ability to, or your thyroid's ability to function. So this is what I'm talking about. This isn't an exact thing that you can follow, but I will include some links below to some of the supplements that I'm talking about here. But the idea is you need to have a strategy, and I'm calling it a protocol here, but it's a little more than that because it needs to be individualized to you. But the idea is you need a strategy behind your supplementation. And if you do it that way, you really get a lot more bang for your buck than if you just take a thyroid supplement and maybe an adrenal supplement, and you take that for 6 months and you're like, I didn't feel any better. Well, of course you didn't feel any better because it was just sort of a shotgun approach. And some people will get lucky when they do that, but a lot of people will not. Number 4. Okay, so this is another big one, and it's exercise. So you probably already know exercise is healthy. I don't need to teach you that. But what I want you to understand is exercise directly improves thyroid function. We have many studies that show that that's the case. And what I'm talking about here is not the kind of exercise that you're thinking of. I don't want you to go to the gym. I don't think you need to go there and do a spin class or a HIIT class for 45 minutes to an hour. You don't have to do that sort of intense exercise to get benefit. No, in fact, I'm just talking about any sort of movement. So anything that gets your body up and moving. So many of us are stuck in desk jobs. We're not moving around a lot. When we are moving around a lot, it's very minimal. We'll come home after a mentally taxing day and we'll get on Netflix or something like that, and you'll just sit and sort of edge out instead of being active like you should be. So really what I want you to do is think about this in terms of movement. Think about this in terms of pushing your body to whatever limit that your body can handle. So in the beginning, what I'll do is, by the way, a lot of my patients who come to me and they want to lose weight, I don't even start them off on really intense exercise regimens or protocols right away. In fact, many of them lose weight just by doing the things that I'm talking about right now, which is a lot of them I say you don't even need to exercise for a while. You eventually need to, but right now your adrenals are so shot that it's probably not a good idea to. So things like yoga and Pilates are the best, especially if you have these really intense sort of adrenal fatigue sort of issues, or just chronic fatigue or any sort of fatigue. And as you can, and as your body tolerates it, push yourself to those higher intensity thresholds. And that's when you'll start to see some good results. Okay, so number 5, at-home thyroid testing. So this is kind of interesting, but there are companies nowadays, and there's lots of different lab testing companies which can allow you to test your thyroid. Now, the unfortunate aspect of these is that you kind of have to pay out of pocket for them. So they're generally not covered by insurance because they don't have a doctor's prescription on them. But you still can test your thyroid. And here's where things get really interesting. So we're on number 5 out of 7 here, right? These are therapies that I'm describing to you that you can do at home. Now, what I want you to understand is that if your doctor's not willing to work with you, you can do these therapies at home and monitor your thyroid to see if you're improving. So this gives you a way so that you can actually quantify the success that you're having. So yes, you have your symptoms and you can determine how well you're feeling with your symptoms. But if you test your own thyroid at home on your own 6 to 8 week schedule or whatever it is, you can look at your before and your after and determine, did this diet help? Did this amount of exercise help? Do I need to take different supplements or whatever? But you have this data that you can utilize yourself. And if you use videos like I have, or my blog posts, I have over 300. I have all this information out there which can pretty much, if you really want to spend the time, you could do a lot of this yourself. If you don't have the time, I totally get it, but you're going to need a doctor, and in this case, at-home testing may not be helpful for you. But I want you to understand you can follow your results, and you can get your tests done on your own without a doctor's prescription. And this is especially important if your doctor's not willing to do those, to write the prescription for you for your labs. I even recently tested a lab company which did a finger prick. I tested on my wife. I'll post the results because I actually have her serum blood test and I have the finger prick test, and I'll kind of compare those. I'll have to do that in a video or a blog post coming forward here, but which is pretty interesting. So they have fingertips, but then you can also go and get your labs drawn as something like Quest or LabCorp and get your results that way. So number 6, stretching, and really what I'm including here is yoga. I know yoga can kind of be included in the exercise category as well, but I'm including it in sort of this stretching category. And really, I want you to understand that stretching helps to improve blood flow, and it helps reduce stress and lowers cortisol. And all of these things together can improve your thyroid. So it might surprise you, but obviously I do a lot of exercising, but something I do every single day if I can't exercise is stretch. And a lot of my stretching has to do with certain yoga poses. So that's why I've included both of these kind of together here. But if you don't believe me, and this is kind of the challenge that I'd have for you, if you don't believe me how effective stretching can be, just actually, you know what, I'll link it below. There's a little 5 to 10 minute stretching video that you can follow and just see how you feel before and see how you feel after. So all of that blood flow, it allows nutrients to get to your body. It allows you to just reduce that stress, and it makes you just feel better almost immediately. So I would encourage you, if you haven't already, to do stretching. And stretching is way easier than exercising for a lot of people. All you got to do, you just need a carpet to do some stretches, and you need 5 minutes. So there's really no excuse to not do that. And if you want, you can take it to the next level by doing some yoga. And don't underestimate that one. It actually will make you feel a lot better just simply improving your mobility and doing some stretching. Okay, so that's number 6. Number 7 would include detoxification and or infrared sauna is what I'm including here. But really the idea here is that you have the ability, well, let's put it this way. There are many things that you're coming into contact with on a daily basis, which whether you realize it or not, are negatively impacting your thyroid. And a lot of these things are called EDCs, or endocrine disrupting chemicals. So they do exactly what they sound like they do, as the name would suggest. They disrupt your endocrine system. And these are chemicals that you're coming into contact with. You're consuming them. They're in food products. You're touching them on receipts. They're being absorbed through your skin. You're getting in contact with these every single day. Now, the problem with these is that not everyone is equal in terms of their ability to eliminate them. Okay, so some of you will have a lot of these in your body, and many of you might not have as much, but they're still impacting you guys in different ways depending on the levels that you have. So detoxification, in my opinion here, is very important for thyroid patients because it allows you to get rid of these things, and it will naturally improve your thyroid if you can do it. Okay, so one of the things that I mentioned that you can do here is infrared sauna, but exercise plays a role in here too. So you'll see there's lots of overlap in terms of these things. Anything that you can do to sweat, your body likes to eliminate things when you through your urine, through your stools, through your sweat, and then through your breath as well. So these are the ways that you can kind of eliminate things out of your body. Another important reason is that it can improve your liver function. So remember, a large majority of your thyroid is activated in your liver as well as your gut. So I said gut previously, which is why we talk about gut supplements, but a lot of the liver is responsible for a lot of conversion as well. So if you have elevated AST or ALT by checking your labs, remember I talked about other lab tests that I think in my last video, maybe 2 videos ago, but go check that video out if you haven't already, because I talk about other lab tests that you need to get in addition to your thyroid. And one of those on there is your liver. And this is the reason. Your liver, if it's not functioning correctly, and if you have something like fatty liver, or if you have a little bit of extra gunk or inside your liver, which prevents it from functioning and it prevents the enzymes from working appropriately, it will limit the ability of your thyroid to function. That's why we do these detoxification methods. That's why we consider using infrared sauna, because it helps eliminate the endocrine disrupting chemicals, it improves liver function, and helps you convert T4 to T3. So I never neglect the power of detoxification. I know it's sort of like, to some of you may sound like a woo-woo concept or whatever, but it actually is really important. And I see a lot of success in doing this, especially in conjunction with people who are losing weight, because as you lose weight, as you eliminate fat, a lot of these things are stored inside your fat cells. So as you eliminate fat, they're flushed into the system, and then you're going to have to deal with it. So these are 7 therapies that you can do at home. Remember, these can all be done in addition to your thyroid medication that you're currently taking or anything else that you're currently doing. So if you have any questions about these, if you have any other therapies that you think are really effective that I didn't include here, obviously this is not a comprehensive list, but do leave those in the comments below. And if you have any questions otherwise, leave them. And otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one.